Everything is vibrating. Even solid matter is vibrating slowly. And this means everything carries a frequency. And in the simplest terms, that's what your aura is. A bunch of frequencies that vibrate kind of egg shape around you. You might see it, you might feel it, but it's there all the time like a protective skin. It's part of your personal space, but it also connects you to everything else going on in the universe. I'm Meryl Key, and this is my mystery school, and I love working with energy. The philosophy of as above, so below makes total sense to me, and whatever is developed or growing inside is reflected outside in the external world, and vice versa. Your aura is made up of different layers of frequencies. It gets more complex than just having a bunch of energy around you. Your auric field helps to maintain and connect to your chakras, visions, inspiration, and a bunch of kind of energetic blood vessels called nadis that make up an auric webbing. Your aura is really dynamic and moving all the time. It reflects where you've had trauma or illness, an accident, but also where you're carrying thought forms and feelings that haven't been processed yet. Just like the chakras, your aura can get blocked or damaged. And that damage will be reflected somewhere either in your physical body or in what you call into your life, what you attract into your life. Working with energy and the aura, I use a model that was developed by the Theosophical Society and Alice Bailey. It's called the 7 Planes of Existence and described in one of her pieces, The Constitution of Man. These 7 planes are 7 layers of different frequencies that make up your aura. And knowing how your aura is structured means you can work with it better in the way you work with law of attraction, in healing, in Reiki, or even just develop your own intuition and psychic ability. The first plane of existence is kind of obvious. It's the physical. It's what we can touch, what we can feel, and what we can see very clearly. Even this physical layer is vibrating really slowly. It's the densest, heaviest frequency. And just outside of that barrier of your physical body, there's a really fine layer that you can sometimes feel or see, and it's called the physical etheric. It's the bridge into the subtle bodies, your auric field. And it operates in a frequency that's just outside our normal field of vision. And it's the place that shows up with injuries and healing modalities that bridge those two worlds, like acupuncture. The needle goes into the physical body, but the flag of the needle sits out in that energy field. And it allows healing and clearing to move between those two spaces. The physical etheric, because it's that closest part to your physical body where you might develop physical symptoms. For instance, before you get a flu, you have that weird sort of shaky day. And I would describe that as, apart from whatever's going on physiologically with you, as your immune system is kicking in, that's also where the etheric body is starting to reflect what's going on in the physical. And you feel vulnerable and open. This etheric layer is also what you could feel if you ran your hand, your palm, over your arm. Or when you put your palms together and bounce them slowly, you can feel a sort of a pressure, an energy. And if you keep tapping into that feeling, that pressure you feel gets bigger. It's an energy ball. You can literally feel the edges of it. And if you go a bit further, you can put a feeling, an emotion into that energy, an emotion of love. And you can feel or sense that energy ball is now kind of giving a loving vibe. So it's really true. We can transfer energy, there is no doubt. The layer outside the physical etheric is called the emotional or the astral plane. And this one's vibrating a little bit faster and a little bit finer than the etheric. It's a really dynamic layer of your aura because our emotions are really dynamic. They move and change all the time, and that's reflected in this auric layer. This is the layer that I would be using if I was trying to manifest something, for instance, a new car. I'd be doing the part where I'm sensing and feeling what this new car would be like. So I'm tapping into the auric layer and getting the feel of what the steering wheel is like, the smell of the new car smell. I'm using my senses to activate that emotional part of my aura, and using the law of energy that like attracts like to draw that possibility of a new car closer into physical form. The next layer out from the emotional body is the mental body, the mental plane. And it's divided up into two layers of frequency. The one closest to the body and at that bridge of the emotional plane is the lower mental. And this is kind of ego. The lower mental affects your thinking, your attitudes, and mostly how you work solutions, what you think about things. If you can change your thinking, you'll change your mood, which is the emotional layer sitting underneath. And if you change your mood, you can change your physical state, which sits under that. You'll stand up taller, you'll feel more confident, and you'll appear more centered. Affirmations work a lot on the mental plane, and it helps you change your thinking. But the real transition with using affirmations, I think, is when you incorporate the feeling rather than just mechanically speaking the words. If you have a thought form and you give it enough energy and emotion, it becomes physical. The vibration slows down until it becomes manifest. That's why your thoughts are so important, and negative thinking really can lead to ill health. It can also really create a toxic environment around you. Resting on top and working through that lower mental field is the higher mental. And this is what you might call your higher self or the higher mind, the difference between mind and brain. The higher mental bodies is where your really wise thoughts come in, where you develop strength of character and personal growth. The higher mental body is the one with an overview, the observer. It's also the access point beyond our kind of physical and personality need. It's the one that accesses those higher realms. It's the one that you work with in meditation and in the part of your law of attraction work where you're developing trust that the universe will deliver, trust that the universe has you back. Buzzing at a little bit higher frequency and a little bit finer, just outside of the higher mental level, is the intuitional or the Buddhic level. This is a part of the aura where belief systems are handed down, not only through your parents, through culture, through society, but also your own innate baseline belief. For example, the belief that we're all equal, or a belief that you're not lovable, a belief that only the strongest survive and so everything's a competition. And you can see that changing your beliefs or developing and growing your beliefs into a higher frequency is how we get paradigm shift. If you can change your beliefs about something, it will filter down through the mental bodies, through the way you think and your attitudes to your emotions, and ultimately to your physical body. So changing your beliefs can change your karma. The layer outside of the Buddhic layer is the Atmic layer, or the spiritual plane. This is a really interesting layer, this one. It's the interface of free will. Everything including and below this point is really part of our human experience here on Earth. But the Atmic layer is where there's a certain amount of choice to experience what you want to experience for personal growth and soul growth, but you don't get to choose how it's delivered. The atmic layer is where astrology comes in, because your birth chart is a map of that potential of soul growth. If you're working with planetary magic, like using any of the planets, the moon, or timing around cycles and seasons, the atmic level is the place where you're going to call your law of attraction frequency match through, where you amplify, where you try to connect with the bigger picture. This spiritual plane is where the big life lessons move through. Important relationships, even soulmates, would be attracted to this part of your aura. Although, remember, the aura is dynamic and there's interaction between the different layers of frequency because they kind of transduce energy down or process it and move it out. The layer sitting outside of that spiritual plane is called the monadic plane. It's the one closest to source, and it's the monadic plane where your soul family, or I call them your star family, even your twin flame, is recognised. A monad is a unit of consciousness. It's like a little package of energy with akashic information in it. This monad is an aspect from source, and this aspect of source has a desire to become matter. And in order to do that, it had to split off and experience separateness. The monadic layer came into existence when it split off into two, and we experience that all over our natural world. Light and dark, sun and moon, night and day, feminine and masculine. Because these monads carried that desire from source, they continued to split off until they created 12 groups. Those 12 soul groups that make up the monadic level are also linked to the 12 astrology signs and to archetypes. This is the level that archetypes are formed. And it's why astrology, which sits in the layer under it, in the atmic level, draws on the mythology of archetypes. These 12 groups are what you might experience as your soul group or your soul family. When you come across someone and you just click without having to speak or understand, and you might have nothing in your earthly background that would link a commonality. It's as if they're really just so familiar to you. They're one of your peeps. Within each of these soul groups, the monads continue to split off like tree roots. And some of them split off until there's only two left on the branch. And that's what you might call a twin flame or a monadic twin. The layer right outside the edge of your aura is the divine layer, and it is pure source energy. It's a very high, fine frequency. It works on a multi-dimensional level. It's the universe, it's prana, it's the Big Bang, it's Allah, God, Goddess, it's love. And that's the essence of our basic truth and our basic connection to all living things and each other. Now you know what you're working with, you might be able to see or feel these different layers. The slowest and densest moving level is the physical, what you can touch. Just about a finger's distance outside of that would be the etheric, the one you can feel when you run your hand over it. Sitting over that is the emotional level, maybe about 10 centimetres out. Next layer out from that, the lower mental, the higher mental, then we move to the Buddhic, where belief systems get processed. Next layer out of that, the atmic level, where astrology comes in, the monadic level, where your soul family is, and finally the outside, the divine, pure source. I'm Meryl Key, and this is my mystery school. Like, follow, share and subscribe. If you'd like to know more, look through my channel or contact me on my website, merylkey.com. Blessed be.